Welcome back to the deep dive. Today, our mission takes us into, well, some really challenging territory. We've got our hands on a document, a primer, that's making some truly radical claims. It claims to reveal the single root cause behind pretty much all human aging, chronic disease, and just general suffering.
Yeah, it's quite something.
And the core idea, it's dramatic, to say the least. It argues humanity isn't just fighting off the occasional bug, but is actually completely infected by this ancient, intelligent entity they call the cosmic death fungus.
An evocative name.
Definitely. And this thing, according to the document, is actively controlling our bodies, our thoughts, our behaviors, basically draining us slowly. It paints a picture of an enemy that's been with us almost from the start.
And it's important to understand the source here. It's presented as coming from an anonymous international collective. They mention scientists, geneticists, professors, even philosophers.
Yeah.
And they say they're gearing up to release detailed data, genetic data, to back all this up. Their core argument is that Western medicine for, millennia has been trained to look everywhere except this one root problem.
Yeah.
This idea of chronic systemic fungal saturation.
Okay, so that sets our mission for you, the listener. We're going to unpack this document. We'll treat its claims seriously as material for analysis and try to understand what they say this ancient enemy is.
How it operates.
Exactly. How it operates, and crucially, what this fight-back protocol they propose actually involves. So let's start where they say it all began. The fall of man, as they put it. They don't just vaguely gesture at the past. They pinpoint a specific moment, a specific place. We're talking roughly 15,000 years ago at an archaeological site called the Grotto of Pigeons in Morocco. It was found back in 1908.
And this is where their historical detective work comes in. They looked at the archaeological evidence from that site, specifically 52 skeletons. And these skeletons show the first sort of widespread evidence in the archaeological record of dental caries, tooth decay. They connect that directly to the beginning of this systemic fungal issue.
But why that place? Why the Grotto of Pigeons?
Good question. The culture there had become sedentary. They were living in, damp, confined caves. And crucially, they started raising pigeons.
Pigeons.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Seems specific.
It is. Pigeon droppings are notorious, absolutely notorious, for harboring pathogenic fungi. So the argument is that generations of people handling these birds, breathing in spores constantly in these enclosed spaces, it led to persistent DNA damage.
So it wasn't one event, but this long-term environmental pressure that caused a mutation.
Exactly. This constant fungal exposure, generation after generation, they claim it culminated in a specific dominant genetic mutation affecting the STAT1 gene.
STAT1. What does that do for us normally?
Think of STAT1 as a key messenger for your immune system. It helps coordinate the defense against pathogens, especially fungi. So when that gene mutated, it basically left the door wide open for chronic systemic fungal infection to take hold permanently.
And the consequence wasn't just, say, a susceptibility to thrush, it was deeper.
Much deeper. This genetic break, they argue, compromised crucial immune pathways, specifically the IL-17 and IL-22 cytokine pathways. If STAT1 is the messenger, these cytokines are like the specific alarm bells for fungal threats.
Ah, okay.
By effectively silencing those alarms, along with damage to another gene called cardinine, the vast majority of the world's population became genetically predisposed to this lifetime infection. And crucially, it gets passed down generationally.
Okay, so that explains the origin, the vulnerability, but the document gets even more unsettling when it talks about how this fungus maintains control generation after generation.
Right. This isn't something you just pick up later in life, according to them.
No, they claim it infects us incredibly early, while still in the womb. We're talking just 14 to 30 days after conception.
And the timing there is apparently key. It targets the ectoderm.
Which is?
The ectoderm is the embryonic layer that basically forms the blueprint for your entire central nervous system, your sensory organs, your skin, infecting it that early. It's like installing malicious software before the computer's even built.
Wow. Giving it early unfettered access, as they put it.
Precisely. Unfettered access to our core command systems. And they connect this early infection directly to miscarriages.
How so?
They point to existing medical studies.
Yeah.
Specifically, studies showing that NAC and N-Acetyl-Cysteine can help prevent recurrent miscarriages, since NAC is known as a powerful biofilm disruptor and detoxifier.
They argue it's evidence that fungal activity is actually causing those losses.
That's their interpretation, yes. Circumstantial maybe, but compelling in their narrative.
And the control isn't just about physical survival of the species, it's about behavior. This is where it feels very sci-fi.
It does. They claim the fungus actively influences our thoughts, our cravings, our moods. It pushes us towards deviant and impulsive behavior, drives anxiety and depression, and importantly, systematically disrupts our hormone balance.
Making us crave sugars and things that feed it.
That seems to be the implication. It manipulates the host for its own survival and propagation. Which brings us back to that claim about intelligence.
Yeah, how can a fungus be intelligent?
The document insists it is. It operates either as coordinated colonies or maybe even as one massive superorganism. They actually cite research, interestingly, showing fungi solving mazes to find food.
Really? Mazes?
Yeah, demonstrating, some level of problem-solving or goal-oriented behavior far beyond what we usually think of with mold or yeast.
That idea of a thinking enemy at a species level, it's quite something. Okay, let's shift to maybe the biggest claim, that this fungus is the root cause of nearly every disease, starting with cancer.
They focus heavily on Candida albicans, the common yeast. They argue it's far from harmless. It constantly releases toxins like aldehydes and ammonia. But their main focus is on a unique peptide toxin called candidalysis.
Candidalysis. You mentioned they compare it to snake venom. That sounds extreme.
It does. They propose candidalysis is the weapon it uses to cause inflammation and trigger abnormal cell replication. It damages host cells, provoking this aggressive inflammatory response that the fungus then seems to exploit.
And how does it protect itself?
Through biofilms. Candida builds these incredibly tough, slimy protective layers like a shield around itself and sometimes even engulfs healthy cells.
Okay.
This biofilm does two things. It disrupts normal cell communication, which they link to cancer replication, and it makes the fungus practically invisible and invulnerable to antibiotics and even standard antifungal drugs.
An amazing defense mechanism if true. What about the brain, neurological diseases?
Here the claims get, frankly, quite scary. They suggest certain fungal brain infections are frequently misdiagnosed. For example, Cryptococcus neoformans. According to this document, that fungal infection often presents with the exact same symptoms as Alzheimer's disease, cognitive decline, memory loss. Doctors look for plaques, but maybe, they suggest, it's a fungal colony.
That's a radical reframing.
It is. They also mention Aspergillus fungus, claiming it can literally, quote, eat holes in your brain if it takes root. And they link chronic central nervous system infection directly to diseases like multiple sclerosis and ALS, suggesting the fungus invades nerve tissue.
And you mentioned hormonal sabotage earlier, specifically targeting males.
Yes, the document is very specific about this. It states fungal mycotoxins actively work to decrease testosterone production.
Why testosterone?
Well, think about it from the fungus's perspective. Testosterone plays a big role in strengthening the male immune response. So by lowering testosterone, the fungus is essentially weakening its host defenses systemically.
A strategic attack.
That's how they frame it. They claim Candida specifically targets the testes to suppress these hormones, making the host more vulnerable.
Wow. Okay, even something as common as tooth decay gets a different explanation here. It's not just sugar on the outside.
Not according to this primer. They link it back to that systemic nervous system infection. When Candida feels threatened or needs resources, it can shift from its single-cell yeast form into these long, branching filaments called hyphae.
Hyphae?
These hyphae are apparently incredibly strong. The document claims they can penetrate rock. So the idea is, since the fungus is already in the nervous system, these hyphae grow from the inside out, infecting the nerve root and the dentin of the tooth. Internal decay, not external erosion.
Okay, so if this infection is so pervasive, so smart, so systemic, the big question is, why doesn't our immune system just wipe it out? We're supposed to have defenses.
And that brings us right back to the beginning, doesn't it? Yeah. Back to the Grotto of Pigeons.
The genetic damage.
Exactly. The source identifies those three specific genetic defects, IL-17RC, STAT1, and CARD9, as the primary culprits. They argue these mutations essentially disable the specific parts of our immune toolkit designed to recognize and fight off fungi. It's like a critical software patch never got installed.
And they give this vulnerability a name.
Yes, familial candidiasis. And this is where the prevalence estimates get really controversial. Mainstream estimates might put significant fungal issues at, say, 50–70% of people.
Which is already high.
Right. But this collective, based on their own unpublished research, believes the real number is closer to 90% or even higher, particularly in Western societies. They see us heading towards near total saturation.
90%. How do they justify such a massive number against current medical understanding?
They argue it's because the mutation is dominant and inherited, and because standard medical tests almost never screen for systemic fungal load, they just treat symptoms. So the true scale of the underlying problem they claim is completely missed.
And the fungus itself helps ensure this by actively fighting back against the immune cells that do respond.
Yes, it has evolved countermeasures. One tactic is camouflage, using melanin structures on its surface to basically hide from immune cells.
And if that doesn't work?
Then it gets aggressive. If an immune cell persists, the fungus can generate those sharp hyphae and physically penetrate the immune cell, killing it and then using it as a food source.
Kill and consume the defender. Brutal.
It's portrayed as a very effective survival strategy.
Okay, this paints a pretty bleak picture. Given all this, what's the solution offered? They must propose something.
They do. The document details a protocol developed by their group, the scientists and doctors involved. They call it the Trinity.
The Trinity. What were the requirements for this protocol?
They had clear criteria. It needed to be inexpensive, completely natural, highly effective, easy for anyone to get hold of anywhere in the world, and crucially, it had to work synergistically.
Synergistically, meaning?
Meaning the components had to work together not just to kill the fungus itself, but also to break down those incredibly resistant biofilms, that protective slime layer we talked about.
Makes sense. So what is the Trinity?
The three core components are NAC, N-Acetyl-Cysteine, oregano oil, and black seed oil, which comes from Nigella sativa.
Okay, NAC, oregano oil, black seed oil. Why those three specifically? What does each one do?
NAC, the N-Acetyl-Cysteine, is the primary biofilm disruptor. It's the agent that breaks down the fungus's protective house, exposing it.
Got it. Step one, break down the walls.
Exactly. Then, once the fungus is exposed, the oregano oil and the black seed oil come in. Both are described as potent, natural, broad-spectrum antifungals. They kill the organism directly and also help neutralize the mycotoxins it releases.
So it's a combined assault, break the shield, then attack the organism.
That's the idea, a three-pronged approach designed to leave the fungus with no defense and no escape.
Let's get into the specifics then. What's the daily plan they recommend? They mentioned an initial phase.
Yes, an initial phase that they say should last a minimum of 2 months. The daily regimen starts in the morning. 1,200 milligrams of NAC, 300 milligrams of oregano oil. They specify using a potent 10.1 extract and 1 teaspoon of good quality black seed oil, which is roughly 4,000 milligrams.
Okay, morning dose, and then?
Then at night, a slightly lower dose, 600 milligrams of NAC, another 300 milligrams of the oregano oil extract, and another teaspoon of black seed oil.
Now, they include a really important warning here, so it's crucial for you, the listener, to be aware of. The fungal die-off symptoms.
Yes, the Herxheimer reaction, essentially. As the fungus starts dying off and releasing toxins, and as those biofilms break down, people might feel temporarily worse. Things like fatigue, headaches, maybe flu-like symptoms.
And the key message is, don't stop.
Yeah, absolutely. They stress that you need to push through this phase and, importantly, continue the protocol for several weeks after these die-off symptoms disappear. This is to ensure the mature, deeply embedded biofilms are fully cleared out.
Right. Persistence is key. Are there other things they recommend alongside the Trinity for full clearing?
Yes, a couple of peripheral protocols targeting key entry points. For oral health, they suggest brushing with non-fluoridated toothpaste, adding 1 to 2 drops of fennel seed essential oil, FSEO.
Fennel seed oil, why that specifically?
They claim FSEO kills fungal growth deep in the gums, and also, interestingly, that it's one of the few essential oils capable of crossing the blood-brain barrier, potentially addressing neurological aspects.
Okay, and what about sinuses? That's a common spot for issues.
For the sinuses and upper respiratory system, they recommend using a nasal spray. You can use either Xlear, which is xylitol-based, or something called hypochlorous acid.
Hypochlorous acid. Isn't that something the body produces?
Exactly. That's what's interesting. It's what our own immune cells naturally generate to kill pathogens. So using it as a spray is like giving your sinuses a direct dose of the body's own cleaning agent. Very targeted.
So we have the core Trinity, the brushing, the nasal spray. What kind of results do they claim people see with this comprehensive approach? The list in the document is pretty astounding.
It really is. They claim reversal of things like IBS, chronic joint problems being fixed, significant weight loss or stabilization, correction of hypertension, thyroid issues resolving.
And the mental and behavioral aspects, too.
Yes, elimination of chronic anxiety, depression, and even those deviant behaviors they attribute to the fungal influence. It's presented as a total system reset.
Which leads to their final, quite profound conclusion in the document.
Yeah, the synthesis is basically that because of this constant controlling infection that started 15,000 years ago, None of us, essentially, have ever had the chance to be a real free human being. We haven't experienced life operating at our full biological and mental potential free from this manipulation.
It's a heavy thought, and it leaves us, and you, the listener, with a final, really provocative question to mull over, one the collective explicitly poses. If other life on Earth that didn't have strong antifungal defenses, maybe organisms wiped out in past extinction events they hint at if they already lost this battle, are we, with our specific genetic flaws, just the latest species locked in a long, potentially losing war against this intelligent cosmic entity? The document concludes by saying the opportunity is now yours, potentially, to reclaim control,